another episode of the Power to Be Show.
Be creative, be connected, and be courageous. Worship does not stop on Sunday. Now, if you were going to give advice that you would say a business owner must do this to succeed. Listeners, I hope that you have been blessed, even as I have, with what we've heard today.
What's up, everybody? This is Alexis, and you're listening to the Power to Be Show podcast. On the Power to Be Show, we are showing people every week the impact of recognizing how God impacts every aspect of your life. We are switching it up this week. I will be your host today, and we have Miss Jalen Lovett, owner and operator of Jada Brat's Kitchen. Jalen is the daughter of Dr. Jamian and Shakia Lovett, pastors of The Rock International. With the help of God, our healer, she recently overcame having an 800 blood sugar level. I'm excited to share this young entrepreneur's journey of faith with you. Before we dive in, all I ask is that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave a comment on the episode and share with your circle. We all have the power to be. Welcome, Miss Jalen.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm so glad that you were able to join in with us today on the Power to Be Show. So we're just going to get right to it.
Okay.
Tell us, because I know you.
Mm-hmm.
I know you, but I don't know you. So,
Right.
Yeah, I haven't been familiar with Jalen since Jalen was in third grade. And now you're a young lady. So tell our audience more about who you are.
So I'm currently 18. I just recently graduated from William T. Dwyer High School. So like you said, you've known me since kindergarten through third grade. After that, I've just been a jack of all trades, basically. So I do makeup, I do hair, I cook. Everything that I pick up on, I just pick up on it and I just go. So recently, I've been having a passion for cooking. Mm-hmm. So now
and I've had your cooking.
Yeah.
And my guests still talk about the food that you prepared for my birthday dinner.
Yeah. So I just recently started that business, maybe, I want to say a year ago. Mm-hmm. I started cooking like 2 years ago. My mom always threw me in the kitchen. She was like, just go cook this up, go bake the shrimp, go season the meat or whatever. So while she was doing that, I just ended up, I don't know, like picking up on a passion for cooking. Mm-hmm. I would go and watch YouTube videos, come back in the kitchen and cook. And so after that, I branched out with my businesses. I think April of last year.
Okay,
and
so fairly recent.
Yeah. So I started doing up like little pop-up things where I would put out a menu mm-hmm. and cook at my church and people would come and buy from me. And so
let me stop you there. How was it being that you are pastor's daughter? Well, actually, both of your parents are the pastors. Mm-hmm. How was that? Did that have any impact or anything to do with you getting started, or did that influence the type of or the reaction of people?
Yeah, so it had a lot of influence on my businesses. So people from the church would come and buy from me. I was even promoted to being the chef for cooking for the church businesses.
Nice.
So my parents would, they would promote my menus in like the group chats or whatever. And they would also promote it on social media. So a lot of people from the church did come and buy from me. So
okay. Now in relation to your social media, I noticed you have over 20,000 followers on Instagram?
Yeah.
So at what point was there a certain video that went viral?
Right.
How did that go?
So like I said, I did get admitted to the hospital for an 880 blood sugar. I don't know how it came about, but once I was released from the hospital, my dad was like, you need to get back to work. And I was lazy when I got to the hospital because...
How long ago was this?
This was last year in June.
So
June
before
25th.
you did my birthday dinner, oh, wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like experiencing all of these symptoms. My symptoms started in May.
And what symptoms were you experiencing?
So TMI.
Okay.
I had a yeast infection.
Okay.
I had a yeast infection in my mouth.
Okay.
I got extremely pale. I was very, very, very tired.
Oh, wow.
I did not want to do anything. And the crazy thing is, people think that diabetics, they get diabetes because they are having a lot of sugar.
Mm-hmm.
I craved salads, fruits, and smoothies. I craved everything healthy.
Wow.
And I went through a lot of symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So what really admitted me to the hospital was my back. So I got back pain on like one side of my back.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to explain to my parents that my back was hurting, but me being me, I did not want to take any medication. I didn't want to take any pills. So they were a little bit frustrated because they were like, "You're telling me that your back is hurting, but you're not wanting to take the medication for it." So eventually the back pain it spread it throughout my whole back. And it was one night, we had just got a new puppy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So him being a newborn, I was taking care of him. And so it was one night, my back, I was just in excruciating pain. And so they were trying to get me to take meds for it, but I did not want to take it. So I text my mom around maybe like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. I was like, "My back is hurting, like take me to the ER now." So she was like, "Go downstairs and take medicine." So I'm walking downstairs and I'm looking through the medicine cabinet. My vision starts to go blurry. So I'm throwing the medicine around I'm throwing the medicine around the cabinet, and she's like, "What are you doing?" Like, she's yelling at me because she's frustrated.
Right.
So I go and I lay down on the couch because I'm weak at this point. And she's like, "All right, I'm about to call 911," because she feels like if she calls 911 at this point, she feels like I'll get up and go take the medicine. But my body was just shutting down at that point.
So the medicine was primarily for your back pain?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So once she noticed that I wasn't getting up, like her telling me that she was going to call 911,
Mm-hmm.
she told me that she was going to take me to the ER. So she bought down me some clothes or whatever, and she took me to the ER. Mind you, while I'm walking out the house, because my vision is blurred, I'm like walking like cross or whatever.
And you were 16 or
17 at this point.
17. I'm sure
So,
that was scary.
Yeah. So she takes me to the ER and they get me into the room. And so they were giving me an x-ray on my back.
Mm-hmm.
And one lady ended up taking my blood sugar. So she turns around, and because you have to wait a little bit for the numbers to pop up on the meter. So she turns around and she's like, "Oh, wow, she has diabetes." That's when everybody starts going crazy because I'm guessing they seen like the number 880.
Okay.
Meaning that you're supposed to be in a diabetic coma or you're supposed to be dead. Wow. And I wasn't either. So once she said that, I looked at my mom, I turned over and I looked at her, and the emotions on her face were just like.
As a mom, I know that feeling because, that's your baby, and it's like, you kind of feel helpless because you don't know what to do, what the next step is. So I get that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. She went through a lot of emotion. She was crying in the hospital with me or whatever. For me, when she said she has diabetes, it wasn't a shock to me. I don't know why. I was receiving signs before, I was receiving like the symptoms or whatever. I even like on my For You page on TikTok or whatever, it was so random because this one dude had popped up on that page and he was like, "These are signs that you're diabetic." And it was like he was drinking a lot of water, which I was doing. I was drinking like a case of water a day.
Oh, wow.
Literally. And I was using a restroom maybe like 5 to 8 times a day. So it wasn't a shock to me that I was diabetic. And
so how long before you saw the TikTok video, in between the TikTok video, between you, that time frame of being admitted?
I think it was a month before.
Before.
In May, and I was admitted June 25th.
Okay. So you're dabbling in makeup and cooking.
Mm-hmm.
You're diagnosed with being a diabetic in high school. What next?
So me just getting newly diagnosed, because it was the summer before my senior year. I was dabbling with my business or whatever. Once I got out the hospital, like I said, I went back into cooking. When that video got over, like, I think I made like a seafood spinach dip or whatever, and it got over like 3.1 million views.
How did that feel? Because that's
I was happy. I was excited because I felt like I was going somewhere after I just but just got newly diagnosed with this diagnosis. I was excited.
Okay.
I was happy. I felt like I had something to live for, basically. So after just being diagnosed with that, I was still cooking while in school or whatever. But with being diabetic, you got to take insulin for what you eat. And you have to do all of these calculations. You got to calculate for me, I have to calculate 1 for every 5 carbohydrates. And I have to do
you have to calculate one what?
So let's say like a meal has like 46 carbs in it or whatever. I have to divide that by 5.
Okay.
And that'll be like my units that I give myself, the insulin shots that I give myself.
Oh.
And if my sugar is over 150, I have to give myself a correction dose.
And this is an injection?
Yeah.
Are you afraid of needles?
I had to get used to it because they had to teach me how to take the insulin, like take it in my stomach, my thighs, my arms. I had to get used to it. So now it's just like a poke and go.
Okay.
So,
but did it take you a while because you didn't want to take medicine before. So was it an adjustment now this new life of doing insulin injections?
I definitely had to adjust to it, especially with the needles. I have to take a long lasting shot, and I have to take insulin for every meal that I eat if it has carbs in it. And I also have to poke myself like 4 to 6 times a day to check my sugar.
Wow.
So I had to adjust to it, but now it's just like a lifestyle. So
Okay. So go ahead with, after doing all of that and you're doing your calculations, which for me, that's a huge adjustment.
Yeah, and it's a lot.
Yeah. And I don't think I ever really knew that about being a diabetic, but I'm sure it's harder because as a chef, you're having to taste.
Yeah.
How does that factor in? Like you're trying to taste to make sure that seasoning is right. And
so my mom will always get on me, like, if she knew that my sugar was high and she saw me tasting, like, for instance, mac and cheese, that's like one of her things. Like, if your sugar is high, don't do it. Okay. And I would have to go and sneak behind her back just to taste the stuff. Like, I have to taste how my food, They
don't taste for you? No?
I don't trust my parents. I don't trust my parents tasting for me. I have to taste it myself because I know that I have a certain style of cooking and so I have to taste for myself. But yeah.
Okay. So you've started, you went viral. And then are you still catering? Are you still cooking? Because this is an adjustment.
Yeah. So being that further down the line, I did end up taking myself off of insulin which is bad. So any diabetics out there, do not do that. Don't do it. So being that I did take myself off of insulin because I was depressed at the time and I was having anxiety, especially in class. I missed a lot of school. being that I took myself off of insulin, I did not care at that point.
Okay.
So I was doing what I wanted to do. I ate what I wanted to eat. I was still cooking and posting, eating the foods and stuff. People would comment. I would have like comments here and there, be like, oh my gosh, so much sodium, blah, 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 just commenting on like the styles of food that I cook. And it was kind of taking a toll on me. But at the same time, at that point that I took myself off of insulin, I did not care. So I was doing what I wanted to do, and my sugar was getting higher and higher and higher.
So were you feeling hopeless? Were you like, what was going on within?
I was feeling angry, and I kept questioning why, like, why me? Because as a child, my dad being a pastor, I always saw him like go in the hospitals and pray for people. And I was always like, I'm going to try to keep myself healthy. Like, I don't want to be in this predicament. Yeah. So I always kept that in my mind. But while that was going on, the whole like diagnosis or whatever, I felt hopeless. I was angry. I was questioning God, even himself, even though you're not supposed to do that.
Well, you can. So because we're human, you can question God. That doesn't necessarily mean that, God, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But God, talk to me because I'm not understanding what I'm feeling. God, I don't know why I'm having to go through this. God, what is the purpose of this? I'm doing what you said. Why? So I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. And it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Because we're human. We're human. Yeah. So at what point did you get over that hump?
When I started to go to therapy.
Okay.
So my parents were frustrated. They were constantly nagging at me. And my mom one day, she texted me and she was like, we're going to go to family therapy. So we went to therapy. I went to a therapy session with them one time and I was very uncomfortable. I was sitting at the edge of the couch and I was just giving the therapist like one word answers or whatever because I felt uncomfortable with talking about how I felt during this whole process. I even wanted to unalive myself at one point. I felt uncomfortable talking about it in front of them.
Why?
Only because at that time, I felt like I wasn't heard enough.
Okay.
And I felt like because they're my parents, they weren't going to get my aspect of what I'm currently going through. Like me being 17, my senior year, I only had like 3 classes at the time, but I'm having to take insulin shots. I'm having to check my sugar. So I felt like me being 17 and doing all of this, I felt like they didn't understand me.
Okay.
So I ended up going to therapy sessions and I've just been spilling out all my feelings to her. So even she's noticed a difference in me or whatever. And I think my therapist has played a huge role in how I've been feeling and also becoming closer with God.
Yeah.
So as a teenager, I feel like you have to have like an open mind and be very mature to have a close relationship with him. Because at my age, I know teenagers, they'll either be like, oh, I'm close with God or whatever, but they're not getting the true aspects of it, or they'll go to church and they'll be on their phone.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So after, I was diagnosed or whatever, I did not want to go to church at all. I was over it at that point. But it took me a lot to put my phone down in church and pay attention. And yeah.
Okay. Because, a lot of teenagers go to church because you have to.
Yeah.
And I'm sure with your parents being the pastors, you don't get a choice.
Yeah, my dad wants me and my sister at church 24/7. 24/7. There's no breaks.
Sorry, Dr. Lovett. But yeah, I get it. Yeah. I get it. I was not a preacher's kid. My mom is a minister, but that didn't happen until I got a little bit older. So, but I was at church at your age all the time. And I think that as Christians, there is something different about us.
Mhm.
Our friends might go to church, maybe, but that doesn't mean that the word is in them.
Mhm.
And so I'm sure you had to speak over your life at that point.
Yeah.
Was it hard, like with your parents trying to communicate or shepherd you in that space?
I think it was hard because they were trying to get through basically a brick wall. At that point, I was not taking up for it. And I think it was hard for them because they were frustrated and they were trying to get me to be able to live at this point because being diabetic is like it's a life or death thing.
Yeah.
So I think it was mainly hard for them. But for me at that point, I was just out of it.
You were out of it. And how did you, are you still cooking?
Well, since I stopped, because I haven't posted in maybe like 3 months.
I know. I went on your Instagram page and I was like, wait, maybe I wasn't, because you know the algorithm, sometimes you're thinking, did I miss something?
Yeah. So I lost motivation a little bit because I was trying to figure out how am I going to battle taking insulin for the foods that I want to cook. If you go on my page, you'll see a whole lot, not too many of the healthy stuff. I cook like healthy stuff every now and then, but I kind of lost motivation and stopped cooking because I was just trying to battle how am I going to keep my health in check and cook the foods that I want to cook. And I did not want to take medicine. So
right now you're finding balance in doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to get to what you're doing right now. But for those that are teenagers, and I'll say I do appreciate the hustle of you even starting a business because you don't see that in this generation. Yeah. You know, it's like, okay, quick money. Let me figure out how I could make it fast, you know, but starting a business takes time. It takes a lot of work. Energy, even with the social media aspect of it. So, you know, making sure you have the right captions and hashtags and posting everywhere and then being consistent in your posting. What would you tell anyone your age that is considering going into business for themselves?
I would tell them to have faith. And it takes time. And even though you may get a little frustrated, your drive may be lost in a time, it takes time. So you have to end up putting your faith in everything. Even if you feel like it's not about to work out for you, you have to put your faith in everything that you do. And once you put your faith in the stuff that you do, I feel like at that point, you should let it go in God's hands. Yeah. Because he's going to walk you throughout the whole journey. So were there any challenges other than your health in getting your business started? Not necessarily, because this was when I first started it, this was the end of the pandemic before we knew that we were going to go back to school. And because my parents are kind of well known a little bit and we have the church or whatever, they kind of got me ready into the business. So I think the only thing that was kind of discouraging was the following and the likes and stuff. Because it's like when you first start a social media page, you want those likes, you want them to come in. Yeah. So I think that was the only discouraging thing. But I had moral support from my family. So yeah.
How did you deal with the comments on Instagram? Because I'm sure, you know, I see it with the larger pages or followings that, you know, they call them the trolls, internet trolls. Somebody always has something to say, but it's still life. Because even in everyday life, you're going to always have somebody that has something to say, but social media is different.
Yeah.
How did you combat that? Like, how'd you deal with it?
So at first, I wasn't dealing with it too well. I would read the comments to my parents or whatever, and my heart would just be racing because I would just want to clap back at them or whatever. But my dad was always like, you know, obviously, both of my parents, they were like, obviously, you know, if you're getting these comments, then you're doing something right. So I took that with me, and I just used those comments as motivation to keep going.
Good. I did not ask you, Jalen, but who inspired you? Or who inspires you?
So I have a couple of people. So first, I want to say my great grandmother, even though she's long gone past. I knew that she was diabetic, but I didn't realize that she passed away from those complications. And while she was alive, she wasn't really taking the illness like too serious. So she kind of inspires me to keep pushing and to live for myself.
Good.
So my parents also inspire me as well because they're always constantly pushing me to be better, to go out, to branch myself out. And just watching them, you know, work multiple jobs or whatever and giving me and my sister whatever we want, it just inspires me to become better and push myself to be the best.
Okay. And so you've graduated. Congratulations.
Thank
you. Which is huge because of what you had to go through just to even get to that point.
Yeah.
Now that you've graduated, what are you doing now?
So right now I'm currently working at Grassy Waters Elementary School. Because I fell off with the social media thing, it wasn't bringing in a whole bunch of money because I do get paid from posting reels.
What?
Yeah. So that's like a monthly thing. And I think at that time I was doing like Instacart. I was doing shit because I did not want to be on anybody's job whatsoever. I wanted to do my own thing.
So that entrepreneurial spirit was in you, like,
heavily.
Okay.
So because I stopped and my mom seen that it wasn't bringing in passive income, and I was also getting a car around that time, they wanted me to get a job. And so I didn't recently get the job until February of this year, which I love this job now. It doesn't feel like a job, and I work with kids. So, my mom has seen that I've developed a love for the kids or whatever, because even after graduation, they were still at school or whatever. I was like, let me go see my kids real quick before we go out to eat or whatever. So she saw that I developed a love for them or whatever, and she brung it to my attention. She was like, since you love these kids so much, how about you become a teacher? And I was like, I don't love them that much. And so she was like, the district has like a free scholarship for you to go and get a degree to become a teacher.
Okay.
So I had to think about that.
Okay.
And so in the springtime of next year, I am going to go to FAU to get my degree to become a teacher. But right now I'm trying to push myself to also get my licenses to open up multiple restaurants and beauty bars, because I like doing that on the side. That's really my main passion, and the kids are kind of like
they're is the kid. Okay, so the entrepreneurial part, that's the main hustle. Yeah. And the kids are kind of like your side thing.
Yeah, even though I go to work every day, that's not what I really
That's not where your heart is.
Do. Yeah.
Okay. We didn't talk about beauty, so what do you do with the beauty aspect?
So I've been doing makeup and hair since I was 13.
Okay.
I would go and watch YouTube videos, and I would pick up instantly right after that, and I would go and do maybe a hairstyle on my sister or my cousin, or do makeup on my mom, and it would be really good. And so over the years, I eventually ended up progressing with makeup and hair. And at a point, I did have a hair business like open or whatever, and I was doing hair on people. I was doing makeup on people.
How old were you?
Probably like 14, 15, and I was making money off of it. And then I stopped because I realized that there's like two parts of the hair industry. So there's like you're doing braids and stuff, and then you're doing lace wigs and stuff. And I realized that because I like to keep myself, I like to have my nails done. Always, I was like, braids are not, I don't want to do braids anymore. And I felt like with the makeup thing, I felt like I only did good makeup on myself.
Okay.
So I stopped with my business pages on that because I wanted to branch out and experiment on myself before I open up these businesses and try to do them on other people, which I ended up thinking about that as well. And I think for me, I want to hire people and train them on the beauty aspect and then end up having them get their clients in my own beauty bar.
Okay.
So that they can do what they want. But for me, I like to do my own hair and makeup. But, you know, if someone comes up to me and be like, oh, you know, can you do this or whatever, I might do it.
Okay. So you just got that boss lady mentality. And that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because you're now 18. Yes. So that is kind of unheard of with a lot of you. So I commend you.
Thank you.
Go ahead and get those names registered with SunBiz and pray about it and see what direction that you need to take or where you need to start and go for it. And let the teaching be what funds it in the beginning. And you need to tell me about these making money off of Reels because
so
I don't know that part.
yeah, Instagram is really funny with who they accept in the creator fund. So you have to have a certain amount of followers for you to get accepted into the creator fund. I think I had maybe 15K when they accepted me, or 10K, I don't remember. But you have to be able to consistently post. They'll set like a money mark of how much you can make up for that month. So 1 month it'll be like $800 or $1,000. And for me, because I wasn't posting consistently, I was making maybe $200, $300 a month.
Okay.
So if you're consistent with your post, you'll be able to make up to however much you want to make up to. But again, it has to get views.
Okay.
Because the money is based off of how many views you're getting. And I was angry because I didn't get accepted into the creator fund until after I got those 3.1 million views. So I was like, I could have got all that money for those 3 million views that I got, but they didn't accept me. So you just have to be consistent with posting.
Okay. Well, I am so glad that you came and you shared your story and you were transparent because you just never know who you might help. I really, until I invited you on the show, had no clue that you were going through all of this. Yeah. I'm glad that you're still here. I hope that you see that God's hand is on your life.
Right.
You know, if you were supposed to be in a coma and you had back pain and blurred vision and and you're still, you know, coherent, that says a lot, Jalen. So I hope that you continue to strive, be obedient, and taking your medication.
Yes.
Keep influencing. You just never know who's watching. Yeah. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for
We do have
me.
something for you. So we have this Power to Be tumbler, and our tag is you have the power to be connected. You're welcome. Power to be courageous. Power to be connected, power to be creative, and the power to be courageous. And you are all those things. It definitely takes courage to do what you've done, what you've gone through. You are creative. And you are very well connected, and not just to people, but you're connected to the Father. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope that you've enjoyed this episode of the Power to Be Show. Be sure to share with a friend. Thank you. We would like to thank this episode's sponsor, Living Word Christian Community, located at 2390 South Military Trail, West Palm Beach, Florida, 33415, where Dr. Terrell Bird is the lead pastor. The worship service begins at 10:30 a.m. in person on Facebook and Instagram Live.